next.
You're not gonna let him wear that, are you?
my son
Don't do
just
that.
grabbed like this Colombian like soccer jersey that looks like bright yellow and it has all these colors on it. And I'm like, yeah, no.
That sounds cute.
Yeah, no. Rather than wear like a Superman like shirt or something. Like we have plenty of clothes. We're not like destitute. We have a fucking 75-inch TV we haven't even mounted yet.
Oh wow! My God! Wow!
Just chilling there.
Just chilling.
Get it up.
Yeah, just like sitting there and fucking. It's crazy.
Okay.
Man, my son has his Crocs.
Crocs.
He has like 4 pairs of Crocs. So he's got like a rhinoceros one, a shark one, but he mix matches them. Like he wears 2 totally different ones on each foot. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay.
Get a serial killer on your hands, man. Okay.
Thought I escaped that podcast. Welcome to the Aspects of Lore, a podcast where we take a topic and give you the aspects of lore behind that topic. I'm Rich, and with me today, we've got Rubber Rory.
Heyo.
Scrappy Coco.
Hello.
And Uthos.
What's up?
We're going to be diving back into the second part of our Shadows Rising. And we're going to be starting from where we left off last time. But does anyone have any thoughts on episode 1?
Yeah, I do. So, on episode 1, you guys were very, when it came to Gen not being for the armistice and all of that, like Gen should be more towards the peace and less towards this whole, this whole, like, I want to kill all the Horde and all that. And it just remembered listening back to episode 1 that, yes, Sylvanas killed his son and his whole, like, kingdom and forced them all into, like, being Worgen to avoid being undead. So he might have a little bit of a reason to hate her and the Horde. Aside from his already hatred for the orcs, because he did want them all assassinated instead of paying taxes. It was like, oh, we got to pay taxes to support the orcs in the internment camps. And he's like, no, well, why?
Just kill
him.
them.
And him and Sunstrider were both like, just kill them. And Astarion was like, they should just be executed. There's no reason to like keep them alive. And so that's why they left the Alliance of Lordaeron to not pay the taxes. And then that's how we got into this whole situation. So that's the bias on Gen's perspective, which I can't blame him if Sylvanas killed his son. I mean, that's not something you can forgive easily.
I can blame him for not upholding the armistice, at least. I understand his hatred to Sylvanas. There's a lot of people that hate Sylvanas, and it's all for the right reasons. However, as far as the Horde goes as a whole, if you were to use that argument, then you'd have to use the same for Jaina, for example, whose city was bombed by all the races, by Garrosh in charge, whether they were aware of it or not, and she is upholding this armistice pretty well.
However, she didn't lose a child. I mean, she lost her best friend who's a gnome, which doesn't mean that, you know, she should care about that person any less just because she's a gnome. But still, you know, it's not her child.
It was her little apprentice. She had a bodyguard, I believe, that died with her. And then Ronan, that vaporized right in front of her. Ronan saved her the last second. She did have to witness that. And Ronan, who was more or less neutral, like, got obliterated there. I just think if Jaina's able to overcome some kind of hatred towards the Horde, I think Gen should too. And at the end of Before the Storm, Gen even makes a comment on the Forsaken, not Sylvanas. Yeah,
right.
And it's implied that he's starting to warm up. He's seeing like this side of them that's still human. So I don't know. I just feel like it's just weird to see him keep going back to this. You know, can't trust the Horde. Can never trust the Horde.
And there's so many similarities between being a Worgen and being an undead. They were all human.
Right, yeah, but I could see him forgiving the Forsaken. I could see him going past the Forsaken and saying, all right, we're going to be somewhat peaceful and somewhat okay with them. I can't see him ever being okay with Sylvanas. There's just never... And the orcs is like, that's the whole reason he got into the second war.
Yeah.
So the orcs is a bit of a... I was just on Reddit and somebody made a comment about Garrosh. There was a huge post on Garrosh and how he was like the greatest thing since sliced bread and all of that. And I went I went point by point. Yeah, there was. I went point by point and explained why he was wrong about every single point that he made. Because he was a racist after all. I mean, he was written to be a villain from the very beginning, and he was a villain from the very beginning. And you could see he was even retconned to be more of a villain because originally it was the Twilight's Hammer cult that caused those druids to get killed. But then they retconned that and made it that it was Garrosh all along. So he was retconned to be more of a villain.
I'd forgotten about that.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah,
Garrosh will have to be another video. There's so much on him I'd love to talk about.
Garrosh should be a separate podcast.
But then they mentioned how I made the point to say how it seems to me, this is wild speculation, not lore, but wild speculation,
My favorite.
that they created the whole light forged, and I know the lightbound thing from the Maghar orc scenario, and I know we're going to talk about that in the next episode, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But they did create a Garrosh type character because the Hellscream had another boy, and he grew up and joined Urel's group.
Yeah.
Right. It seems to me like that's going to be Garrosh's redemption arc.
You think so?
I can't hear Scrappy. But it seems to me that that's going to be his redemption arc on the main timeline, because they're going to go back to that story and they're going to try to... Because he's falling into the same things that Garrosh fell into.
Or family.
Yeah.
I think the Lightbound are just going to be villains in due time. We'll get into that more in the next episode too.
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And here's Scrappy.
Scrappy.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't like the light.
I don't.
All right, I'm actually I was a priest main, so I'm very into the light. Anyway, Shaw's ship. Let's go back to Shaw's ship. They bond over family. That's Flynn and Matthias.
Yes.
And they bond over family, and somebody was a thief and another person was a thief, and they both have thieves in their family. How great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this piece of writing because it was so subtle. Subtlety.
It's very subtle, right?
Subtlety. Because he's a rogue.
Yeah, and also they
I'm sorry.
I remember when I heard this, they it seemed to me that Shaw was expecting to get captured.
Yeah.
Because he gave all the evidence to Flynn, and he knew that Flynn was going to get away. So I thought that was interesting.
Maybe
Slippery pirate man.
Maybe you just need someone with a purse to hold it.
Yes. Then we go to Terragard Sound, where they're feasting in right before a meeting. I guess that's what you do before a meeting. Jaina.
Well, you do in Terragard Sound.
I guess.
Jaina's mom has to throw it. Well, yeah, you've got to show how much.
It's called Terran custom.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can't just forget about custom because the world's going crazy.
It's like the Shrek meeting. Shrek
I think that was funny. I thought about that too. No matter what's going on, you still have to do your cultural thing. That comes
you have to eat.
Yeah, you have to eat.
So they're eating. I'm not sure Illyria needs to eat anymore. She's probably just fed by the void.
No, she's
I know.
Illyria immediately assumes that they're still working for Sylvanas, the Zandalari rebels,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what the evidence shows, that there's a Zandalari rebel group that's working with the Dark Rangers, and so Illyria says they must be in league with Sylvanas, so she immediately says the whole Zandalari must be in league with Sylvanas, and then Jaina is like, oh, let's try diplomacy first, which is, again, I know what Rory's going to say, because he's going to be like, well, that didn't work out that way when the whole bombing happened. She didn't go to first, oh, let's be diplomatic at first, but now she's learned, she's grown as a character.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to like Jaina again. Actually, I was going to be fine with the whole diplomacy thing. Again, it caught me a little, I want to say surprised, pleasantly off guard, because we've only seen her coming to terms with it through the cutscenes in Battle for Azeroth. We didn't actually see the perspective from inside her head, so it's a little better this way to see through the book. I mean, it's good. She's turning good again. I like it. I don't like
Turning
this.
good.
I don't like this genocidal Jaina.
No, I don't
So,
either.
we got
Nice
nice.
alliteration, but
I remember the after the bombing and fucking Jaina being all pissed at everything. I would sit here and watch like cutscenes or quests or whatever, and I would be like, "No, I fucking hate you now, Jaina."
Yeah.
Even though I love Jaina, like I love her story, but there was a point where I really hated Jaina for a long time.
Yeah, same, absolutely, same here. I just having someone that was such a monumental stepping stone for the Horde in general. Like, this is a woman that took out her own dad to help out Thrall, help Thrall kill her dad, and like she has always been for diplomacy through Yogg Saron, through the Lich King, through everything, and then to just see this character that you've really, I don't know, enjoyed as a like bridge between the Alliance and Horde, just turn
Yeah.
all against the Horde. That just flew it out of the water for me. She purged Dalaran of most of the Blood Elves there. She was ready to destroy Orgrimmar until
she
Thrall and
had
her dragon boyfriend came and stopped her.
He has a name.
That's a whole other thing.
Calico.
Calico's it's I have
How many
issues with
boyfriends has she
the
went
way-
through though? Like 4?
No, not really. Like, I don't consider Kale to be one of her boyfriends.
No, he was just desperate for her.
It's just, yeah.
He was like a stalker.
Just stalker.
It's only been Arthas and Kale and Calicos, but what I find interesting about Calicos is the way he's written to be like completely attracted to magic. Like his whole character has always been attracted to magic, which is really funny because he fell for Avina, which is like the living embodiment of the sun. Well, I know that some people hate that storyline, but it is.
I liked
canon.
it.
I liked it, yeah.
Then he goes for Jaina, and she's like absorbs the focusing iris. It's like a whole thing. So it's just interesting.
You know, similarities between Jen and Gen were pretty big at some point, because there's a lot of points, I think, through War Crimes where we see Jaina slowly starting to get a sense of herself, starting to come back to reality, starting to accept the same way Gen was kind of accepting Forsaken at End of Beyond the Storm. In War Crimes, Jaina was slowly warming back up to the Horde after talking to Kaligos. But then in Battle for Azeroth, you know, I guess it's a bit more reasonable for her to go back after the Horde again, considering Sylvanas burned down the World Tree, but it still seemed like she was all or nothing against the Horde, and that was kind of disappointing to see. So the same way, it's kind of disappointing to see Gen still, you know, and his son died all the way back in Cataclysm, you know.
All of 5 years ago.
I think, I don't know. I think Gen at some level, I don't know. Maybe it's because Varian died in front of him too. He did have to go through that in the Horde's retreat. But I wish I could see.
To play the rogue class order also. He doesn't really understand what happened.
Yeah.
So Jin just said, "Oh, sorry, go."
Oh, I just wanted to kind of see that same arc with Gen. You know, Gen's a fun character.
So Jaina sends a missive to Thrall, and Thrall brings it up to the meeting. with G puts himself right in there. Speaking about Garrosh, that's very fresh in his memory. And
I'm glad the Pandaren are getting attention.
Yeah, like we said before, I think that's one thing I personally would have liked to see more of the Pandaren perspective in just Battle for Azeroth.
Yeah.
More of that perspective, and I kind of know we've like Blizzard's pretty much forgotten about them. They're just like, okay, that was our April Fool's expansion. Let's forget about them. But
That was my favorite expansion.
that was one of my favorite expansions.
Yeah,
and
that was one of the
they're
most
my
beautiful
favorite-
expansions.
Yeah,
yeah,
one of my favorite races too. It's really funny. I thought they were so well written and so well done.
Same.
So let's go. Oh, I wanted to bring up the whole Gazlo being in charge of 2 cartels. So he played the long game, and he.
Hey guys, can we pause super quick? I got a really important phone call. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Yes,
Okay.
Gazlo. Gazlo's
That's-
cartels.
Yeah, so he has 2 cartels now, which, I mean, he definitely thought that through and played the long game. So what I got from that was it pays to be generous rather than like
Greedy.
than greedy, because the greedy guy got screwed. And then,
Gallywix.
yeah, he did.
It's
And then
horrible.
it was terrible, but he ended up because he was really greedy and tried to get everything for himself. He ended up getting screwed. But then Gazlo's been very generous to all of his people, paid everybody, and he ended up with 2 cartels as a result.
Did was it Gazlo or the so-called jailer? You think that instigated Battle for Azeroth?
Oh no, that was definitely the jailer's been manipulating everything from all the way back from Wrath of the Lich King. Like, actually, this isn't official, but from reading into like what we know, it seems like before Wrath of the Lich King, it depends on, we're going to find out this definitely in Shadowlands, but how the Helm of Domination and Frostborn played into it. It seems like that without knowing it, Arthas was already working with the jailer and didn't even realize it, because his Valkyr were Mossborn. So that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Ooh.
We're going to
I'm
get
so
into
excited
that.
for it. I'm so excited for it. Blizzard,
Okay.
where is my beta?
yeah, that's same here. It's my beta. I do
Yeah.
this.
I wish
All
I
right.
could share
Well,
that.
less speculation. We gotta get back into the actual book here.
So Thrall and G decide to meet on the meeting ship, and Jaina and Anduin show up and talk. Thrall immediately tells them that he met with the Night Elves, and full disclosure, I met with Tyrande in order to start things off. Like,
Promise
on the right
Sylvanas'
foot.
head, which I'll never be able to deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. Anduin
Good job, Thrall.
shows the evidence about what's going on, and everybody's a little bit taken aback by it, which is interesting because it plays into Nathanos' plan for them not to communicate and not to have all of this. So this is like directly working against what Sylvanas and Nathanos believe will happen, because they believe they made it so impossible for everybody to communicate and talk with each other that it's just not a thing that could happen. So Thrall assures them that this isn't the case, and that that's the Zandalari rebellion group that they have nothing to do with as part of the Horde.
Yep.
And he tells them that he's frustrated because the Queen is refusing the Horde's help.
Yeah.
And Jaina wants to know why she would be refusing the Horde's help. Like, what could possibly be wrong?
I wonder
Stupid
why.
question.
Yeah.
She's still
Is it
upset about her
you?
dad. She's still upset I killed her dad. Oh.
Well, no, she yeah. People can't get over things like that. So then he
I
agrees
killed my own
to-
dad, People should
Yeah,
just
I
get
got
over
over it.
Patricide shouldn't be a problem. Agrees to work something out with Shaw, regarding him coming back, and
Yeah.
that was fun. Then the storm breaks out and seems to be attacking their ship directly. But what I really like is we cut right to to Apari after that, and so the Apari's chapter that takes place after is taking place concurrently with the meeting
Yeah.
in the storm, because you see Apari sees Jaina's ship and she does send the storm out. So I thought that was really, really well done, in my opinion. I thought that,
I agree with you.
as I was like listening to it, on Audible, I really like pictured that whole thing in my head as I first got to see it with on the meeting ship, and then I got to see Apari's point of view. But Thrall and G walk through the market to meet with the queen.
Because Jaina teleports them, doesn't she? And she just kind of throws them into land.
Right, but then they even said, well, why did she put us? And it's funny because here, Matt, I really, really do enjoy Madeline's writing. And after reading the next book that I know we're going to discuss in a future episode, I really appreciate Madeline's writing on this, because you could tell she's an avid player. But the frustration of being put on the docks and having to go all the way up to where the throne room is, which is like
so far.
And they get attacked like in the middle of the street.
Yeah, they get attacked by 6 trolls. But if you've ever played Horde, that you have to take a flight path from there all the way to the top of the pyramid. And,
you don't walk.
That's like a 3-minute ordeal.
Funny story about that. I used to actually walk.
Oh.
Yeah, before I realized there was a flight path while I was leveling.
Oh, I thought you were just RPing. Okay, cool.
Just slow walking to the top.
If I was RPing, then yeah, I would totally that's justified. But the fact that I didn't know that there was a flight path.
Yeah, a whole essay done walking up the stairs.
I love it.
And I saw a video of Colteris on the Alliance.
Oh, everything's right there. Everything is
like
in the same area. Yeah. So what I found interesting here is Thrall thinks about Talanji's pride being her greatest weakness, and that I thought was really well done.
Is that like a little flashback of like Garrosh's pride kind of thing? Or
pride has always been a downfall. Like it just look at the whole Zandalari Empire itself, and when we get into their podcast, they'll be brought up. But the Zandalari have always been prideful people. They've
Does Zandalari
always
have a
been
podcast?
Prideful. No, I'm saying when we podcast.
Give it about 25 minutes.
But yeah, if Talanji kept going for pride,
and then also, so then they finally the meeting goes. Talanji and them, after they beat down those 6 trolls that were trying to attack them, with the help of not Zakan, Rokan.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Rokan just was like, yeah, there are only 6 trolls. I'll handle this. You guys just go ahead. Yeah, that's no. Rokan is all like roguey, stabby stab.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Stabby stab. So let's see here.
Use a Viscerate, boy.
She insists that it is a Zandalari problem and that they shouldn't need to get involved in this because, and
teenagers.
And G quips back, yeah, it seems like you have this handled. I mean,
I love
we were just
that.
attacked. Yeah, he was really sassy, wasn't he?
That was so British.
I'd like to actually talk a tiny bit about G real quick. And again, piggybacking off of Scrappy, the Pandarian representation now, and the whole Horde Council, they're all getting their own representation. Even the Volpera at the end get their word in. But I'd like to piggyback off of the Pandaren specifically, because it's, we haven't heard a word from G since the recruitment of the allied races.
Yeah.
And through Battle for Azeroth, Scrappy made a good
And
point.
he was tortured too.
That's right. He was tortured during the Siege of Orgrimmar. And
Yes.
in Battle for Azeroth, it would have been very interesting to see how the Hugin and Tishui, handle each other then. I mean, we see it a little bit on the Timeless Isle, but other than that, we've never really, we haven't seen these guys butt heads too much since then.
And it's funny, but a lot of people don't understand that philosophy is such an important part of their culture, because, and I'm sure that if people like hear this, they're gonna really freak out about this. But people were talking about the High Elves and how the High Elves are like so different from the Blood Elves, and I've had arguments about that because they're really not. And I even said even the Pandaren have more of a difference than the High Elves and Blood Elves, because they have a whole different philosophy.
Exactly.
Whereas the High Elves and Blood Elves have pretty much the same philosophy. It's just they're in two different factions.
Exactly.
So they're even more separated than
one has blue eyes and the other has green and gold eyes. Okay.
Well, not anymore.
I think the main difference is the
Pandaren.
Pandaren.
That's not a thing.
The Pandaren are much more peaceful, practical kind of people.
Yeah.
They're very, they've learned to muster and control the, hatred, fear, doubt, all the shaws that constantly used to haunt them. They had to learn to live with that, because otherwise it would instigate a shaw attack or whatever. But it was crazy that we didn't see any kind of quest line, any just little bit of feelings on like how they were coping with this Battle for Azeroth, how they were coping with. I mean, I guess we didn't even really see it, pandas fighting pandas, but it's good to finally see some representation now.
I just started trying to get my Pathfinder 2, Part 2, and I was surprised that I went to Nazjatar and there was a panda stood there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is a panda doing here? And I was pleasantly surprised because I haven't seen any.
Yeah.
And speaking about that, it's really interesting, because if you do play on Horde and you recruit the Zandalari, G has definite opinions on them joining the Horde. He says, I don't like it. I don't support it. But if the war chief says that they're okay, they deserve a fresh start. But he's very much against it.
G was pretty much, he was kind of for the Volpera, right? I can't really, he was kind of like, we just don't really have.
Volpera kind of were overseen. They were like, nobody really cared about them. And they had to like do little odds and ends, which I personally had a problem with that. You know what? We'll bring that up in the Volpera thing.
Yeah.
I have opinions on the Volpera.
Okay.
So he wants to understand that he wants her to understand that without the Horde, Zandalar will not survive.
That's Thrall and Princess Talanji, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Their enemies are organized and working with Sylvanas. So it's not like she's dealing with like little rebel factions that are just forming out of nowhere and disorganized. And so he gets her to understand that. So I guess she sends Zap to rescue children. I don't know. I kind of didn't understand how they just went right to the Zakan and rescuing the children. And
they were baiting him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was an act. They got the children. They were intentionally firing on the children to bait the forces.
Yeah, they knew that they were going to have to try and rescue them, and by trying to rescue them, they were going to be able to destroy the forces.
All right, so he dies, and then Vamsandi.
He dies.
So flippant. He dies.
So heartless. This is Zakan, man. This is Starfang's little boy.
Jar Jar.
He just dies.
Vamsandi tells him that the Maw is taking over the Shadowlands. This is
you missed his whole death, his real death.
He dies.
He dies, and he's surrounded by souls being torn apart and pulled towards this force that just gives him this sense of overwhelming dread, and he suddenly starts to feel himself pulled in two directions. And
I'm glad you brought that up because I thought that was really neat. Out of Zappy Boy himself, like just with him being Jar Jar, basically.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
And
With
he
the whole-
now he's one of the only people alive that understands how horrible the Maw is.
Yeah.
You know, I beg to say that he probably understands what Sylvanas was doing or what she is doing at that point. That's what I
don't think
thought.
so.
But then Bwonsamdi manages to pull him out and let
Yeah,
him
he
know
grabs
that-
onto him and pulls him out.
Sorry for forcing you to listen to that.
It's fine. So we cut to Goldshire. And now, so RPing in Goldshire is a thing. Anduin's doing it. And it's canon now. Jaina was trying to do it too, I guess, and she catches him and teases him about it. So
This was another good moment for Anduin though,
I
building
liked
a
it.
bit more into his character, because we're seeing a character that's constantly in conflict with himself, constantly doubting himself. At first, he would always bring up his dad, and now in this book, he's only mentioned his dad maybe one time. It wasn't really a doubtful memory, and now he's just doubting himself entirely, left and right. I think seeing his people and what they have to go through most of the time is what it always seems to trigger him. He saw his 6 men wash up on the shore at Dark Ranger arrows. He sees these 3 friends coming in, like, yeah, we joined because our parents were in. My dad, he died fighting Uthos forces. I'm gonna be just like him. Our king's so great. We're ready
That
to
was
die
so
for the
cute.
king. Yeah, and Anduin's just sweating bullets. Like, oh my god, like what?
That's one thing that I brought up before was this part really reminded me a lot of the relation between, or not really relation, but the just the same thing that Arthas kind of went through. He had the plague, he had Jaina, he had so much stuff he was doubting, the weight of the crown, and could he do this? Even while he was doing the whole purge thing, he doubted himself. That's why he lost connection with the light, because he doubted himself.
I guess what makes Anduin better than Arthas in this case is Arthas was strict on vengeance the whole
Yeah.
time. Against the orcs, against Mal'Ganis, and that ultimately was his downfall. He did care about his people. He was worried about the weight of the crown. Anduin has the weight of the crown, and we see the doubt come through, and we're seeing this new character who's okay with torture and interrogation, but for one, he's not very vengeful. Tyrande despises him for it. His character is still coming into play. We're still figuring out just what kind of king Anduin is.
Yeah, I think he's still figuring out what kind of king he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has no idea. He's going off of Gen, and I'm assuming he's going to kind of piggyback off of Torellian even more.
I hope not.
Yeah,
I hope too.
Dude, Torellian was such a badass until recently. So maybe old Torellian, it would have been cool to lead off of,
But I really enjoyed the interaction between Jaina and Anduin, because he thought as soon as he saw her, he was like, I am in so much trouble. I'm screwed. Oh my God, my mom caught me.
Basically, yeah.
Drinking underage. Oh my God.
If you think about it, Jaina has kind of been like his mom.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
Like,
Right, he never had a real mother when he was growing up.
yeah.
or Tiffin.
But she was doing the same thing. She was out there having a good time, drinking.
Yeah,
like even leaders need their time alone. We got a sense of that with Lorthamar and his short story. We finally got to see, him release his burdens, express his poetry, have a little girlfriend.
Yeah, a big girlfriend. Yeah. No, the
Big girlfriend.
The thing,
Tall girlfriend.
the thing is that he's the High King, so I don't know that he can't do. What I found interesting, Jaina could go to Goldshire and get this done, but why couldn't he go to a different kingdom, like go to Tyrgard Sound and get it done? I guess because he's High King, he'd be recognized anywhere. But what cool. I was thinking, as I was reading this, I said there has to be a better way. Rory, you know how boot polish is, right?
Yeah.
Putting that in your hair, like that'd be impossible to take off, right? Like I get some on my hand when I'm polishing my boots, and it's like I have to like wash my hand like 17 times.
Even then,
So
yeah.
yeah, so like is it, the Nightborn have this figured out? Like, couldn't Jaina just do like an illusion or something to
illusion.
like help?
What are you
Yeah,
hiding?
exactly. I don't get it. That's just weird.
Maybe she does. Maybe the illusion is only applicable to people that she doesn't want to see her. She wanted
That's so
Anduin to
much
see her.
work.
break for a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, we're going to Zuldazar.
We're in Zuldazar.
So Talanji asked to speak to her father again. Bumsandi's being like, you know, but at this point, we start to realize he probably can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have the strength to do it.
Exactly. He's saying she
He's
can't
like
see him,
transparent now.
but he definitely couldn't, even if he wanted to.
I see that's one thing that I particularly, however you say it, I really liked about Bwansamdi through this part, because the whole time I'm like, okay, yeah, no, you're being Bwansamdi. Like, and then I love the fact that
Right, in the beginning it was that way, but I think now it's not, right?
yeah, I loved how Madeline did that. I guess the way she wrote it, he was like, okay, can you or can't you? Like, I think you can't now. I thought that was really cool.
I like that too.
It was just interesting to me.
And I hate. Well, I don't hate anyone, but I feel like just Apari just frustrates me. I get it.
Apari?
Again.
From the beginning, I was
get a
like,
grip.
I was like, man, Apari, like whenever she went into detail of the leg injury and all that, I was like,
Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting, but then after the first appearance of Apari, I was kind of like, I don't really care. Like, I just don't really care.
I think Apari's whole character, because I think Blizzard wanted to put in these Zandalari rebels just so like they weren't shrugging
Right.
off another thing. Like they didn't want to make it like seem like they were forgetting something. Because the rebellion, it wasn't just Gahoon at the time. Like it wasn't just Gahoon's followers and Zul that were upset with the crown. It was a lot of people in Zuldazar that was upset with the crown. So I think they're still trying to address these kind of people. They're still trying to address how the people feel after they got sacked by the Alliance, like their mighty city, their mighty capital, like just
Yeah,
their
but that
king's
goes
dead.
back all the way. Yeah, that's been a constant, ongoing thing with the Zandalari.
Yeah.
Though. Like that's how come there's so many troll tribes. Like it's this isn't unique to like right now in Talanji. The Zandalari go way back into like disagreements with the caste system and that whole thing, and that's how you get the Gurbashi and the Amani and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Apari actually thinks she can win, which is
Hilarious.
like, okay.
Sure, you
Series
can.
all about pain and suffering. I know Rory has thoughts on Sierra.
Sierra, actually, I think Scrappy has.
Yeah, Scrappy has thoughts on
Scrappy
Sierra.
has thoughts on Sierra. Right?
I'm the Sierra lover here.
I love Sierra too. I'm with you.
Cool. Have somebody with me.
I'm on board.
Sierra just, I love how they take, it kind of fills in that Sylvanas type role. Like we all know Sylvanas to be bloodthirsty, and then she went the whole, oh, I care about my people, and then now she's bloodthirsty, it seems. And I love how they took Sierra and they just made her, like, that's all she is. She's just bloodthirsty. She wants to kill everything. She doesn't care about Sylvanas. She doesn't care about anything. She just wants to destroy everything.
Make him die.
Yeah, the only the biggest difference I saw between Sierra and Nathanos, I mean, I guess there's a lot of differences, but it was Nathanos, at some point, you can definitely see he was fighting for the Horde. He was holding Darkshore for the Horde. He was leading the Horde through many battles through Legion and Battle for Azeroth. So I just, it's a little disappointing to stray away. I really liked him. I really liked having him there. I know a lot of people hate this fucking guy, but you know, he's like the
I
drill
do.
sergeant of the Forsaken. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
He's just
I
he's got
absolutely.
backhanded compliments and nothing but insults, but it always riles you up. You know, I don't know if it's natural arrogance or if he's like it's all intentional. But Syrah, you know, she was someone I think, as far as I know, she died, right? So she got a taste of the Maw as well
Mm-hmm.
for extended period of time. She came back just like the rest of the other night elves that Sylvanas resurrected, and they were pissed. They were angry. They felt that anger and hatred. They come back to the real world with it. Syrah, whose goddess Elune abandoned her, who, you know, she watched her world tree get burned down, everything she knew and everything she protected, and in the last moment she was relying on her people. She got slaughtered.
Yeah.
And then there.
And like I said, it's so much like Sylvanas because she protected her people. You know, it was beautiful. She died because of Arthas, and she came back, and she was just vengeance. Now I know that the whole jailer thing has kind of been retconned into it, but it's essentially the same thing. You know, she got killed, and
Well, Sylvanas did care for her people at some point.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yes, I agree.
above all, she did care about the Forsaken. She did rally them for a
Yes.
cause and for a reason.
I
I
mean,
thought it
Sorry
was
for them.
I thought it was
the Blood
bonkers that like she just abandoned them. Like
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
strange.
Like she never really
Eh,
seemed
eh,
one to lust for power until she was
until she got
Forsaken.
witches.
No, she always did seem to lust for power, but it was more revenge at first. I agree with that. And then after the revenge arc was over, it was more the power thing.
I meant like during her high elf days. Sorry, during the Far
Yeah,
Striders.
Right. No, she was
less.
all about service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was all
that
about her
was
people.
her thing.
And then when she was
alright, so
Forsaken,
in the-
this lust for power began
Now
to
this
emerge.
is probably a little bit off topic, but what do you think about the similarities between Sylvanas and Maiev? Even how there's not much similarity, but you know how Maiev was always thirsty for revenge, and so was
Right.
Sylvanas towards Arthas.
Yes, I see that
And
now.
after
Yeah.
you know, there's no prey. You know, there's no hunt. You know,
Oh.
After
What do you
that,
do?
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I
Maiev
didn't
went
really give
batshit
it much
crazy,
thought.
and Sylvanas killed herself.
Yeah.
Sylvanas yeeted
Or attempted
herself.
to.
and said, I'm done.
She did, didn't she?
Yeah,
She did.
It was done. The deed was
Her
done.
own Valkyrie resurrected her. Do you
Right.
think
That's a whole thing we're gonna get into
Yeah.
with Shadowlands, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking. That's
Well, I don't know.
where we're
Once I get
headed.
the freaking beta.
There's
You're not
there's
getting
not much
it.
story in the beta right now.
Dude, I have
Um,
4 people I live with that don't have beta, and we play WoW every single day. So I'm just waiting.
I have beta and I don't play it, so it's
Really?
yeah. I don't want to really get spoiled to the story. I
Fair.
kind of like I
I
sit there and I
explained
customize new characters for hours. That's all I do.
All right. So
Um,
Syrah,
So
Syrah, and
Syrah and all of that group, the rebels, are at Ramsandi's temple.
Mhm.
Like his is that a ziggurat? What I mean, that's a ziggurat, right?
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
So then he starts playing tricks on Nathanos and
Which is hilarious.
pretends to be his cousin. And
Oh wait,
time-
could I just talk
Yeah.
about this moment super quick?
yeah,
Again, touching on Nathanos, because I think Nathanos is going to have a bit more of an impact.
yeah, you really
coming in
like
sh-
him.
I
do
do.
too. I do
I
too.
really
Yeah,
like
that's your
Nathanos.
boy. Yeah,
That's my boy,
I can't
Nathanos.
stand him. I can't wait until we kill him.
No.
I'm counting the days until we kill.
Let me
Nathanos.
tell
Go
you.
ahead.
Let me tell you something about Nathanos. One of the main reasons I loved him as a Horde fanatic before I realized him and Sylvanas were with the jailer this whole time was how willing he was to lead the Horde into these battles. He was on the front lines for the Horde
Yeah.
for so many fights. Dark Shore, the Battle of Dazar'alor, and Legion. He went straight into Stormheim with you. He held off the Alliance in Stormheim with you. He took command of that. So I just thought he was an amazing Horde commander. He wasn't your typical goody friendly horde commander that's like, we must fight for peace and our people. He was like, to the point, let's fucking kill these people, let's get them. And I was just like digging it, you know.
Yeah, like,
It's definitely a matter of opinion in this case. All right, I'm not saying what he's doing is right, but I
He's a
really
very
enjoyed
well
it.
written character.
He
yeah,
was very fun to see. He was a very fun character. I can absolutely understand why people hate him,
Same.
but I loved his little snarky remarks, his little
oh, dude,
backhanded
love that.
comments.
I love it
He
whenever you're sitting there turning in a quest and he goes champion of the horde, like, or
or you'll have to do, you know,
yeah,
you know.
you'll have to do for right now. I
But
love
what really piqued me with him is I feel like we're slowly seeing him deter away from Sylvanas. I know he's, you know, that's his love and everything, like that's all he fights for. But there's two cases I've seen where, you know, he kind of doubts himself, and one of them is in at the end of the Battle of Lordaeron, where Sylvanas
yeah,
says, "You know what you have to do," and you know he's looking down. You can see him contemplating because you know he's about to destroy Lordaeron, and then she says, "My champion." You know, she gives him a little goody goody,
I love you.
lift your head up, and you know he goes and does it. And then this moment too, I know Bonsombi is just trying to trick around with him, but Madeline does a good job of writing out this very. So I don't know if it's intentional. Maybe I'm just picking up the wrong thing she's putting down, smelling the wrong thing she's stepping in. But it seems like even here we see a
Ew.
little bit of himself filled with doubt, like regret. You know,
Humanity.
yeah, because he does have a sense of humanity. Like apart from the other undead, they explain this that he still has feelings. He can still
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, I
So-
mean that was one thing that I thought Madeline did great with Nathanos was she kept him Nathanos that we know, but she added a little sprinkle of the humanity that nobody else sees, that who hates Nathanos generally.
Yeah,
Or
I mean, Nathanos has said so and done so much shit to make people hate him. I really don't think I don't think he can come back from that
No,
resentment a
I
lot of the
don't think so
players
either.
feel. But I'd love for him to have some kind of role in Shadowlands where last second maybe he helps us out before he like Elyson did in the Nighthold. Just a little last second little help to the player if anything happens.
Actually,
I
maybe you
don't
guys were right.
Yeah, you know,
Maybe I
it
was
just,
wrong the whole time.
Nathanos has just been Sylvanas has just been treating him like crap.
It's not.
So,
It's a mentally abusive relationship.
yeah, absolutely.
oh yeah,
But I
Oh,
I
you want to
really
stay with me? You better do what I want you to do.
he's
It's like
Nathanos collar.
Sylvanas, stop.
he is the ultimate simp.
Yeah.
Nathanos.
Collar.
But I really enjoyed him in Legion. I really liked seeing this new Horde commander taking the front, taking charge, battle after battle. You see this guy, and I just, you know, I've seen more of Nathanos leading the charge than I've seen like any of the war chiefs we've had leading the charge. You know,
They all die.
Lorthamar, him and Lorthamar. That's what kind of for me. That's what
Lorthamar.
made the Horde in BFA.
yeah, Lorthamar's a lot more on the political stance. He hates
Yeah.
politics, as far as I know, but he does a
Yeah.
good job with them. So
And,
he's good too.
Lysra, like I personally thought she was great in BFA. I loved what they did with Lysra. I
Yeah,
thought
Let's-
Thalysra is turning around. Thalysra is
let's-
leading some charges too.
Let's get into Thalysra in the next episode.
You're right. Sorry. Let's move on.
But Bonsomdi ends up telling Nathanos that Sylvanas is making enemies in the Shadowlands.
I think that's interesting.
yeah, what do you think about it?
I think that's okay. That's the first time that we really get to see that there's more than one faction in the Shadowlands. Like we understood that the jailer's trying to take over, but he's basically saying like that the jailer, like his implication is that the jailer isn't like the only big bad in the Shadowlands, and that there's other creatures with a lot of power that can really like make trouble for her and her plans. So he's really trying to enlighten Nathanos that, hey, like you stay on this path at your own peril, because she might bite off more than she can chew.
I took it more as like a seed of doubt that he could plant in
Yeah.
in Nathanos to say,
Huh.
are we doing the right thing? Like, he's completely obsessed with Sylvanas, and he would do anything to protect her. And if he ended up believing that Bwansamdi was telling the truth, and that the path that Sylvanas was following would end up leading to her downfall,
Yeah,
would
maybe
he-
Nathanos will try to stop. Maybe he'll do something
Exactly.
good.
Exactly.
I don't know. I really hope this isn't the end for him. I hope he's not just some world boss and then
Done.
later a raid boss. You know, I
Yes.
really. Oh, I want him to do something.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, you're like me. I just want to see him like being. Like I said before, I would.
He's
even
gonna have
like
the
to
same
see-
downfall as Vol'jin, man. You know, he
Yeah,
gets his moment to
No.
shine and then just out. He's dead.
Yeah, I don't want that. I would, like I said, there is a possibility if Blizzard really wanted to, they could make him speaker of the Forsaken, leader of the Forsaken.
I don't
Or-
know.
No.
No, I
I-
think it's
I-
too
I-
late. But I want some
Too
last
late.
little
Yes.
redemption for him. That's
Yeah,
it.
I
I
would
know
like
he's
it
gone,
too.
but
To do that. But
I
as
want
an-
punishment for him. I want him to be punished. Like he should. I don't think he should die because I'll talk about it at the end when I talk about Sylvanas's justice.
Okay.
Okay. So the now that Talanji agrees that she needs the Horde's help, the Horde kind of like Thrall kind of takes over, and we see his tactician sort of thing. He plans it perfectly. He thought of everything. You
So
have
good.
one group going here, one group going there. There's a group out waiting in the sea. It's perfect. They just completely
yeah.
decimate the rebellion. It's not even.
It's incredible.
It's just like gone.
Orc warriors, Tauren shaman, Nightborn archers.
Yeah, it was
like
everything.
so good.
They
So-
didn't have a chance.
See you later.
Apari's killed, and we
Thank
go
God.
back to the theme of the book, the price of revenge. What is revenge worth to you? And Talanji really starts to think about it because of this is really what brings you back to Maev and Sylvanas and the whole like, yeah, what is revenge really worth? Is it really worth like everything? And is it that consuming? And that brings you back to Tyrande, which we will get to. No, Tyrande, because she's actually being eaten alive by her revenge because the aspect of the Night Warrior is consuming her. So Seer's captured, Anduin confronts her, and Void instantly does move to his hand instinctively, and it shocks him, and Seer laughs at that, which we know that everything that's light and void that was put in this book is given to Madeline to be put in the book by Blizzard. So everything that's light and void, Blizzard specifically says you have to write this in.
Could we touch Flynn and Shaw's reunion? Because the same time they bring Syrah in, Matthias is brought back to the port. I realize Flynn and Shaw is a big topic for people to bring up. This is the first, I want to say, major LGBT representation. Well, we don't really.
I don't know.
It was very
first of
subtle.
all, it's so subtle. It was so subtle you barely know that it was going on. And I understand that they really should approach this in a subtle way as to not alienate too many people.
I don't think it's even about that. For me, as a gay person, for me, this type of representation is fucking amazing.
Mike's gay too, by the way.
I know. But for me,
let's
growing up, I had zero representation to look to. And all the anytime I did have a gay person on TV or whatever, they were either an AIDS victim or they were murdered.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, okay, so I can, and then eventually it became like, oh my God, guys, I can't believe it. I have to suck this if I'm gay. This is how I have to be. And then for people to finally be coming into a situation where it's like, okay, actually, gay relationships can just be normal. They don't have to
Here's
be
the thing.
in your face and too much.
Yeah, you're right. but also, here's the thing. They've been kind of doing this all along, and nobody's really noticed as long as they don't say anything. Maiev and her
I have a
partner, like, they never really got into it, and they really didn't talk about it, and I'm sure that we'll discuss it when we tackle the War of the Ancients. But like when she was killed, that whole like spark for revenge was over that.
Yeah.
Like she wanted to kill Illidan because of that. That one thing is what drove her to it. You have the Tess and what's her name?
Tessa's girlfriend.
Yeah.
What's Tess's
Tessa's
oh
girlfriend.
I'm trying to think of the Beatles song that inspired it. Crowley's daughter, right? And Tess, they have something. So you have a lot of
Lorna.
representation. Lorna
There you go.
Crowley. So you have a lot of representation already in the game. You just like this is where they've pretty much said, look, this is the way it is. And Blizzard's handled it really responsibly, saying,
I liked it.
hey,
I
this
coming
is a
from
fantasy world, so we're not going to treat it like our reality. We're treating it like
Yeah.
a brand new world.
Yeah.
I
What were you gonna
thought
say, Scrappy?
from coming from a straight younger male, it was really cool to see that, and the way that they implemented it, they put it in there but not shove it in your face, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I've
I think that's
seen-
the right way to do it.
yeah, I think the way that Blizz handled it was perfect, and it's there if you want to look into it. And I definitely looked into it with Tessa's story, other stuff like that. With the one character in Shadowlands I brought up, how they did, she was a female on Azeroth, but in the Shadowlands it was a male.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Right,
really
right.
cool how they did that. And if
How it
you want to
goes.
look into it, you can.
And then First Night Warrior has a husband. They bring
Oh, I
that
didn't
up
know
too.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. The First Night Warrior has a husband. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, I don't know if he's the First Night Warrior. He's definitely one of the First Night Warriors.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look
First,
into
Yeah.
this now.
There's a
Anyway.
whole section of Ardenweald that's just devoted to the Night Warriors, and he's one of them. And his
That's gonna
husband's
be
there.
my faction.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
so
Damn straight.
as
Sorry, Ed.
another
I'm
straight
saying.
young male,
Oh my God!
I'll just
Stop
give-
making us feel old.
I'll just give my little perspective on it. All right. LGBT inclusion in video games have either been between forced in your face or subtle. We haven't really found too much of that middle ground yet. If you look at games like Last of Us 2, that's definitely an upfront in your face. Not that that's bad. I think they worked well with what they had. And then, as you said, in World of Warcraft, everything has been very subtle. It's been either in small quest lines, or Maiev, for example, was old ancient. His people, it's not part of the new lore right now. We haven't really seen any of it in the new lore. So Matthias being he's the SI7 leader. All right.
He's an established
He's
character.
badass
Yeah,
too.
he's
Yeah.
badass. And then Flynn, a
he's
whole new
like-
character. Seeing these two opposite personalities come together, it's not only fun, but it's a good inclusion. I feel like they definitely took the subtle route here, and I'm sure they'll maybe bring it up a bit more. They're working on a short story, right, for those
Yeah.
two? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's coming
No,
up.
they're working on a whole book.
A
Is
whole
it a
And
whole
it's not a
book?
book about them. Yeah, Golden is writing a book, but it's not about them. It's about the things that they've stolen in WoW, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a 2-book series because they're only gonna tackle the Eastern Kingdoms in in this book. So
Dude.
it seems like they're gonna do. The only problem I have with that, and we'll get into this when we review Arthas, because I love Christy Golden. She's a phenomenal writer, but I feel like she struggles with romances
Oh.
Yeah.
just a little bit.
The only book that I can say that I've read by her that I think she got the romance enough was, or it would have to be Arthas. She did the Jaina and Arthas romance. In my opinion, she did it just enough. She did just enough. She
Yeah.
gave you what
I
she wanted to give
I
you.
just I read that Star Wars book that she wrote on
I don't
with
know
the
about
two
the Star Wars.
Jedi and the Sith.
I know nothing about
She
Star
wrote it
Wars.
Oh, you
the
don't?
Last
I love
Disciple
Star
or
Wars.
something. Well, she wrote a book with that, and I just felt like it was a good book. It just the her romances aren't like it's not her
Her
strong
jam.
suit.
You know, I didn't
Yeah.
even think it was that
But-
very strong in Arthas either. But I did think
Yeah.
in Beyond the Dark Portal, because she helped write that. I'm not sure if she wrote this part in particular, but Terralion and Illyria coming back together from being broken up, I thought was very fun to read over. I thought she did a good job on
That's
that
true.
end.
Okay. So Ciri's
Well,
captured.
Yes.
Anduin
presented to
confronts her,
Anduin.
and the Void does that thing, and he just walks away. So, you know, the light and the Void are becoming a thing.
Do you guys
Tyrande,
do you
yeah.
guys think that maybe it's just me thinking about it too much, but the way Anduin that void came up and he's like, oh shit, but do you think it's because he just associates Sierra with Sylvanas? Do you
I
think that's the
think
only reason?
this
Just
whole
angry?
the light and void are very subtle yet big figures in this whole book. We see
Mhm.
Illyria and Terralion as obvious anchors for each other, using it to torture. We see Anduin, who has been a figure of just the light. He's been, taught by Velen
Yeah.
himself, seeing the void slowly creep into him. I think the void and light, if it's not in Shadowlands, is definitely making the next big impact, considering everything we've just read over.
And what we'll
I
be
mean,
going
it's
into
been-
in the next episode.
Yeah, and the allied races will bring it up, the void elves, the lightborn, and so forth on. But yeah, I think it's going to make a big impact in due time.
So Tyrande confronts Sierra, and Sierra says, "Everything inside me is ugliness and rage." And that got me to think, what's the difference between her and the Night Warrior? Because that's what I feel about the Night Warrior right now. Like, she's just all like rage all the time, anger, everything. So Mercy and her daughter woke her up from this rage, and she lets Sierra live. Maev comments on she knows what being obsessed and what vengeance does to somebody, and that's regarding her hunt for Illidan. We cut back to the Zara lore. Bamsandi releases Talanji from her deal, and she immediately renegotiates, realizing that she needs him as much as he needs her.
I liked that. I liked that.
Bamsandi has been such a fun fucking character. Sorry, bad language, but he's been such a fun character.
Oh, it's okay. I've marked this as a mature
very,
podcast. We can
okay.
I've thrown some F bombs.
Okay, but Bamsandi, Mike brought it up, or Uthos brought it up very good earlier, how he was starting off as a villain, and seeing how much people liked his character alone. Now they're actually giving him his own little
switched it. Yeah.
I liked it.
Uthos explained it a lot better.
Uthos, you brought it up, how they're kind of switching him to. He was kind of just a backdrop character.
I think he was supposed to be. This is my wild speculation, but I think he was supposed to be the part of Mozala in the Shadowlands. And what makes me think that is in the Traveler books, Mozala has a huge presence in the first two, and then kind of tapers off in the third book, which you could tell that he was supposed to be the big bad of the third book, and they switched it. And Madeline even said that, yeah. So because Madeline wrote the third Traveler book, and then so that was like a whole thing. So now it just seems like everybody liked him so much that they were like, all right, let's make him a good guy, and then
let's cut it.
We already have another Low of Death. Let's use that. So she renegotiates her contract with him and keeps him as the Low of Kings, but wants other Loa to have their say. And Rastakhan is allowed to visit, and she, like, when she doesn't need it, she speaks to her father, which is great.
Really nice.
Yeah, that was a good
Kind
part.
of a
That was
little baity, but it was good.
I
Because he
liked
was
it.
kind of like, he kind of felt guilty that, he could have been released, and then, this happens.
Yeah.
And then we get to see the end of the Shadowland cinematic. Um,
Mhm.
and then Nathanos delivers the bad news. And she says the unjust ladder of their lives must be dismantled, not rung by rung, but all at once, all of it. She had been the plaything of a self-righteous cosmos for long enough. And that's the end of the book. So I wanted to bring up justice for Sylvanas and justice for Nathanos, because Nathanos' justice to me, from reading this book, is to just be left just like that. Just be left alone.
Yeah.
Just like Rory wants. Justice for Sylvanas is for the Winter Queen, in my opinion, to just bring her back to life and have all the memories that she had for everything she's done, and just be alive and be driven mad by it, and then just have Nathanos be tortured by the fact that she thinks he's disgusting
Ooh.
because
Ooh.
she's alive.
And keeping
You are
Sylvanas,
cruel, Uthos.
if
Yeah,
Sylvanas were to
that's
be brought back, Illyria and
would protect
Orisa
her.
would probably
Yeah.
come and try to instigating another fucking conflict. And
Between Tyrande and them.
Yeah.
That would
But-
tear the
but-
alliance up.
Yep.
But yeah, that works. But would Illyria really protect her? Because she's
As
having.
soon as she would be brought back to life,
Yeah,
yes,
I think so,
100%. They love each other. Those sisters love each
They're
other.
so
And
close.
she even had a problem with, like, she had mixed feelings about hunting Sylvanas. And
She-
everybody in the book said that, they wondered about Illyria's, like, feelings for Sylvanas. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
this
this-
was a thing.
maybe I'm just not in the loop, but where is Valera?
Barisa?
Or Varisa?
Oh,
yeah.
Varisa.
I don't know
Yeah,
why.
she's Valera's a rogue. Varisa's like taking care of those two monstrosities that she has. If you've read
They're
the
not
comic,
monstrosities. They're her
oh my god,
children.
they look horrible.
The
Yeah,
half-
look at the comic. They
half
look like
human, half elf.
monsters.
Fun fact: every Windrunner sister has dated a human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they have a thing. They definitely have a thing.
I think
So,
I
all in
actually-
all, what did you guys think of the book?
Who wants to go first?
I thought it was one of my favorite books.
I loved it. Good
It
job,
was
Madeline.
definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, it's top 5. I liked it a lot. I mean, Rise of the Horde is still up there. Last Guardian is still up there.
Yeah. What?
Yeah,
What's your top 3? What's your top 3? Is it in your top 3?
I would say it's definitely my top 5. And we're gonna do more reviews, so
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
we'll go over it.
I
then.
want to
Okay,
leave that
okay.
open. But
All right.
I'd have to say it's definitely top 5.
The only parts I didn't like, so Beyond the Storm or Before the Storm, as much as I love Golden,
Right.
I didn't think it was a very strong book. I didn't really like it too much.
Yeah.
Anduin was, and I really want to blame that mostly on Anduin, because Anduin, as we said, is
So
still
annoying.
establishing himself. He was a very cheesy character, very like, I need to do everything good. Everything I do has to be right and just, and then in
Yeah,
this
we went
one,
over that in the last episode.
in the beginning of this one, we see Anduin doing it again at the running
Right.
into Westfall, helping his people, and I was like, great,
Right.
not this BS again. I don't really care. I get it, he's like this young prince who cares for his people, wants to do the right thing. And I didn't appreciate the book at the beginning too well, and I didn't really realize that wasn't really on Madeline's end. It's just because Anduin is a conflicted character
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
I keep saying that, and we're really seeing a new side of him. Madeline brings up his new side, his heart of steel, as she puts it, and like seeing him agree with the whatever it takes mentality. Him questioning the Horde, not just again, he was questioning the Horde too when
Yeah.
brought the evidence, and it's fun to see. I really like the way Madeline is portraying Anduin in this. And I never really liked Anduin too much, and at the end of this book, seeing that they're really trying to change his character up, introducing the shadow a bit more now,
That's exciting.
it's exciting. It's a very So Madeline, I think, did an excellent job. Very well and upfront characters. Good with the smell. Good with the internal thoughts. Matthias in prison, I thought was an amazing scene.
Yeah.
And the Zandalari troll guard bringing him the piece of
I
grass that he kept talking
know,
about.
and he started whistling
Yeah.
with it, and
I
it just made
yeah.
my
thought
heart bleed.
it was. I thought that was
freaking
such an
cute.
amazing and like scene she wrote out. She did a very good job.
And really quick before we wrap, I want to just bring up that we did get an email from Lewis saying that he doesn't know where in time we lost Sylvanas to the dark side, Garage 2.0 in my book, but she really cared about the Horde and her people, and suddenly she doesn't. I just hope that in the Shadowlands everything is explained in a very good way and not just we need a villain, let's use Sylvanas.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think they have mentioned that they are going to bring up what Sylvanas's motive was. They mentioned that it's supposed to make us question it, and I don't know if this is going to be like a little Last of Us where they try to make us question it, but we still don't. But we'll see. Sylvanas has always been a very interesting character, filled with vengeance.
She's
But she's smart. She's smart. She doesn't. She hasn't really let it overcome her as much as Garrosh or Arthas or any of them have. She's always had this plan. All right, but we don't exactly know when it started. We really don't. Uthos
That's something
brought
we're
up.
probably going to get in Shadowlands, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they kind of establish it after she yeeted herself after on Ice Crown? Didn't they establish that's kind of when it started?
Yeah, that probably be the most likely explanation is when she started putting her plans in motion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But she doesn't. What did she say? She said she didn't want to be a plaything of the self-righteous cosmos. She's been a plaything long enough. So she was following the high elf system. Her people got decimated by Arthas. She was raised as a lich, did things against her will, and then she comes back with barely any feeling left in her as a monster, an outcast of Azeroth. So what was interesting to me is she united these outcasts. She
Yeah.
united these remnants and made a whole society off it. They took back
Well, she
Lordaeron.
didn't
They
do
had
it
the
by
Undercity.
herself.
Well, yeah, she had a few major people help her out. But I think it was her word that started it, though. She gathered them. She united them.
Yeah.
And the whole time through, she's always been caring for the Forsaken. So it's just weird to see at what
I don't know that
point.
she could really be given credit for all that.
We will get into a full Sylvanas episode.
Yeah.
Wait,
one day.
one more thing. I can unsee at what point Sylvanas and the jailer might have started conspiring when she yeeted herself off the Citadel. But at what point did she stop caring for her people? Because in Cataclysm,
Yeah,
in
that's
the
the whole thing.
Silverpine Forest quest line, she was still for them then. Legion, she still seemed like it.
Yeah, even in Legion, she went through all that trouble to make that deal with Helia, but I don't know what the end result of like what her end was supposed to be.
Yeah.
We don't know that. We only know what she wanted, not what Helia wanted or the jailer wanted.
So we don't know if
Perhaps
it's
we'll find
bad
out in
writing
Shadowlands.
or if they have something in mind. But as of right now, it seems like pretty silly writing to me.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll see.
So, Rich, what did you think about the book?
Me, I loved it. I thought it was really good. For me, a biased opinion is the whole LGBT thing have a real impact on me because it was just normal rather than like you have to be someone else totally.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed that side of things and the way that she portrayed that. And that's a huge deal to me. And that was my favorite part.
As as back and forth as Blizzard has been, they have been doing a pretty good job with LGBT representation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it, as I said, is either subtle or upfront. And they've gone from subtle to slowly leaning into the middle. And as Uthos brought up, it's just Azeroth. Like that's
Yeah.
just how it is. There's no, if there's any politics people are going to argue about, it hasn't been that so far. People
Which
have been
is great.
absolutely racist, but no one's been homophobic.
Yes.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, should we wrap it up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching or listening, everyone. We are now on YouTube, so if you're watching this on YouTube, please, if you enjoyed it, click subscribe. All of our links are going to be in the description, or they'll be on our website as well. So if you want to follow us on Twitter or follow us on YouTube or Instagram, all the links will be available there. And thanks very much for subscribing and listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Next week.
Bye.